This will be part 2 of a series Sean and I are doing, which is called the Top 10 series. You saw us on CNN when we advertised it. Yeah, I'm just kidding. But yeah, we're now doing our top 10 movies this episode. So you've just heard our top 10 albums. This will be a more feistier episode. We'll just warn you now between me and Sean, because we are very passionate about our movies. But before we get into that, the obligatories, F1_philosophy at Instagram, F1 Philosophy at YouTube, and F1philosophypod@gmail.com. Please email us to join our F1 Fantasy League. We are going to be talking about F1 very soon, but we thought we'd take a break. And as you saw Producer Gatsby on YouTube posting an episode or a short without our approval saying about what's happening this month, we just decided to take a break and do something different. Since F1's taking a break, we're not allowed to work on F1, right? That's the rules, like we heard in Drive to Survive. They're not allowed to talk about F1 or do any work on F1 for 2 full weeks, and I'm sure everybody is following that rule to a T. Nobody cheats.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm. How you doing, Sean?
I'm doing all right. Getting there.
Yeah.
How about you, Nick?
You know me. Every day is a fucking clusterfuck at the restaurant. But yeah.
So maybe it comes down to you and not the restaurant.
Definitely. I learned that as I get older.
Yeah, I think Producer Gatsby's getting a little frustrated with you, Nick.
What did I do now?
Well, let's let him say it.
Oh, Nicholas, the man who believes he can decode the mysteries of both philosophy and Formula One but can't seem to decode his own haircut. I've never seen someone who can talk so much about tire degradation and existential dread in the same breath. Nicholas, your podcast is a little like your racing knowledge, constantly stuck in second gear with a GPS set directly to contradiction junction. You make Descartes sound like a pit crew member, and Schumacher sound like a stoic philosopher. But hey, at least you're consistent in one thing, confusing everyone around you.
Yeah, I confused myself just as a point too. But one thing I got of that is Gatsby watches Friends with that whole second gear thing. Gatsby, are you a Gen Zer who likes Friends for some reason? More than me and Sean, who grew up watching Friends on TV?
Oh, I never watched Friends at the time.
Really?
No, it wasn't my thing.
Well, I watched what my parents watched, and they watched Friends.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, well,
So,
I'm your boss, Gatsby, for the last fucking time. Would you have to be so mean?
perhaps this is his way of trying to get fired and knowing that you won't actually do it.
Nobody else showed up for the position of producer. We're stuck with a Doberman. We're stuck with a goddamn Doberman.
Yeah, and frankly, he's not the most intelligent one.
Well, he sounds very...
If our intelligence is the lens through which we perceive and analyze the world, can we ever truly comprehend the full breadth and depth of our own cognitive capacities? Or are we forever limited by the very tools we use to explore them?
Well, shit.
Jeez, he is pretty bright, eh?
Where have you been hiding that, Gatsby?
Jeez. I'm not going to mess with you anymore, Gatsby. I know, like, you're scaring me because you're becoming more sentient, shall we say? But
Yeah.
you might have a smarter dog than you think.
That's what I'm worried about. He's too big to be intelligent. It's a bad combination.
The amount of times he's run into me thinking I'm just going to pet him, but not realizing that he's running into me and about to knock me over is insanity.
Yeah. Yeah. He doesn't understand inertia clearly, but...
He's getting there. And with every one of his new blurbs, he's seems to be understanding physics more and more. He's learning.
We'll see if he continues, if he can execute what he's learning in real life.
Doubtful. Okay. Top 10 movies. Let's get into it.
Let's do it.
I have some stipulations, like in our top 10 albums. For me, my stipulations are they come with a good they come from a good place, shall we say. No trilogies. So nothing that was part of a trilogy is in my top 10, which I have to leave off Lord of the Rings, Return of the King, The Dark Knight Rises. I have to leave out Unbreakable, which is a prequel, and The Matrix. Unfortunately, 4 great movies. I love them, but sorry. Just makes my top 10 list a little bit easier to navigate because there's like a million movies that I could put here. I'm sure you feel the same way.
Yeah, I do. Although I haven't used that stipulation.
That's fine.
To me, I have a couple movies on here that are part of a trilogy or a series, but they're on here because I feel like they are great movies and stand on their own.
Which is fair. I pussied out and took them off because it just made my list a little bit easier. I'll be honest.
He said it.
No James Bond, because there's like a million of them. So to put one of them is kind of ridiculous because that would just start a whole other argument. Because like some people like Connery, some people like Daniel Craig.
Who likes Daniel Craig?
It's almost a lot of people. I was going to say almost everybody, but I think a lot of people do. I like Pierce Brosnan personally. Like
It's Connery or nobody.
Yeah, shut up. See, like we're already fighting over this.
Although, if the rumors are true and they're thinking of Idris Elba to replace Daniel Craig, I could get behind that.
That works. That does work. I think actually Tom Hardy would work the best.
Yeah, he's too rough.
So is Daniel Craig. And so is Idris Elba.
Daniel Craig became a rough around the edges James Bond. He was given the role because he was the pretty English boy.
We'll get into that later. We will get into that later.
Okay.
No Scorsese. Sorry, everybody. It's called Good Fellas for a reason. It's not called Great Fellas.
Wow. You
We're gonna have
really saved that one up, didn't you?
We're gonna have a huge fight in this episode.
Yeah, we are.
It's coming. And no comedies. I decided because like comedies alone, I have a top 5. They would all be comedies. Billy Madison, Basketball, Old School, Ace Ventura 2, Grandma's Boy, Austin Powers, Wedding Crashers, The Other Guys. They're all part of my vernacular. I quote these movies regularly, especially between me and my brother, but just in general. That's a list right there. That's like 8 movies I just listed right there. So I can't put any comedies on my list. So I didn't. And maybe you and I next year can do a top 10 comedies if we want.
We'll see.
We will see.
Sorry, I'm just thinking about that now. That would be a pretty long list.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
There's even more I'm not thinking about there, like Wedding Crashers. Oh, I did say Wedding Crashers. What else am I thinking of?
Wanderlust.
What was Wanderlust again?
You never saw Wanderlust?
Did I not see Wanderlust?
Paul Rudd, Jennifer Aniston.
Oh, I did see that, yeah. That would be on your top 10, really?
It's a great movie.
See, we're just going to have a massive fight. What's the other Seth Rogen? Oh, Superbad. I didn't even think of Superbad. Probably be there, too.
Yeah. Yeah.
Very quotable.
Pineapple Express.
That's pretty good. Yeah.
Anyway, shall we get to it?
Yeah, you can start this one. I started the music, so you can start our top 10 movies.
All right. Let's see. This one might be controversial or it might not. In 10, I have Blade Runner. So, I'm a huge science fiction fan. My list, even though I said I'm not following your no trilogies or no series lead, I couldn't bring myself to put Star Wars in there because as a whole, I think it's an epic series, but I don't know that any one movie is necessarily fantastic.
No, that's a good point.
Blade Runner, it's a difficult one for me because I do like it, and I think for its time, it was a real masterpiece. Is a little strong, but
I was going to say,
it was a really good movie for its time, and the execution was well done. It's too fucking long. It's too long and drawn out. So that's why it's not higher on the list.
It's not even the best sci-fi movie of all. Whatever. That's fine.
And you're probably not right. But at the same time, what's that? You'd probably throw Event Horizon on there, which is definitely not worth it.
We're already fighting, ladies and gentlemen. No, I wouldn't put it as the best, but yeah, Christopher knows where these eyes explode. Whatever.
I've watched it within the last year, and it is so poorly done.
Yeah, so is Pitch Black. It's still a great movie.
Oh, Pitch Black.
So it's great. You hate the Chronicles of Riddick.
Yeah,
Not
because
really.
Pitch Black was so good, and Riddick was so bad.
They tried with Riddick. They tried.
That's the problem, I think. Pitch Black didn't try.
Not at all. No, they just threw a bunch of Aussies together and killed them all.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was filmed in the same, 10 square feet the entire movie.
Yeah, probably somewhere in Northern Territory, Australia. Yeah. Okay. I'm just going to say this. Did you get that blurb about Blade Runner from the New York Times? Like, really? Blade Runner?
Have you seen Blade Runner?
It's okay.
This is the problem I have with it. Watching it with people from our generation, this came out before before we were in the phase that we would be watching it.
6 years before we were born, yeah.
Right. So, going back at a time when we can watch it and actually follow along and appreciate it, we are 20 years out, at least, from when it came out. And the technology increased massively in that time frame. So us going back and watching it in that lens, yeah, it wouldn't be great. But you go back and you actually watch it and try and appreciate it for what it is, it's a really well done movie for the time period. I think they were trying too hard to make it an epic and to have it be more than it was, per se, which is why it ended up being so long and drawn out. You probably could have cut an hour out of that movie.
Easily. That's an excellent point, though. Don't judge it based on what we know now. Judge it based on what we would have known then.
Which is, I didn't mention this, but this is partly what I've done with my list. So this didn't make my list, but I have Casablanca on the larger list,
Okay.
which I didn't watch until last April. I went my whole life up until last April without watching it.
I still haven't.
People saying and hearing a lot on different podcasts and talking to people who watch movies, that it's an amazing movie, that it's one of the best movies ever made. I always kind of looked at it as, okay, it's a movie from whenever it was.
48, I think, or something like that.
Sure. Black and white. How good could it be for a movie that old? But I was on a long flight to Japan, and that was the only movie left that I hadn't watched. So I threw it on, and I was glued to it. It's a great movie. But you have to watch it from a standpoint of, it's not a modern-day movie.
I'll counter with this, because that's a great point you made. But I'll counter with this. Tarantino hates the 80s.
Yeah. And?
Blade Runner's in the 80s. Okay. And
So what?
I know. I'm just fucking around. It never spoke to me. Because a lot of people have it as the best sci-fi movie of all time. A lot of lists. And I don't know. How do you not put The Matrix there? To me. That's my opinion. But yeah. I'm not arguing with you. I'm just, I am, but.
Yeah. Now, I think it is the only science fiction movie I have on this list, but that's a byproduct of not having a thorough enough list or a thorough enough set of criteria to narrow down the list. So a lot of these movies are dramas, action, some, in that range. Not a lot of science fiction made it to the list. So Blade Runner is there, and even if it was a science fiction list, I think Blade Runner would still be there, but definitely not at the top.
Okay. That's fair. It's, I didn't give us stipulations because I thought originally my thought was let's just give the 10 movies that come to the top of our head because that's our favorite, because that's the one we've remembered the most. But I think as we think about it more, there's definitely more, so we should add more or take out. This was the hardest list I've ever made in my life. It really was.
I'll be honest, I potentially didn't put enough effort into thinking through this list as I should have.
You like music more. I figured the music was the more one for you.
It's hard to say, but
that's why we're here. We're gonna argue.
Yeah.
We're gonna argue. Yeah. My number 10, Forrest Gump. Had to put it there. It had to be somewhere on this list. It's such a good movie. It's so easy to watch. It's iconic. I could not leave it off.
I agree. It cannot be left off the list.
Interesting. Okay.
Absolutely cannot be.
So it's going to be somewhere for you. Okay. I just want to say, as I get older, Jenny is a fucking bitch.
She's a huge twat.
What a horrible, horrible woman she is. She fucks all of America, and then she's like, okay, now that I'm done, I'm going to settle down with the retarded guy. Literally, he is.
I don't know that that's the word you want to use, but all right.
You're right. It is 2024. I'm also a few uni brews deep. Please sponsor this podcast. America is Forrest Gump. It's the perfect allegory. As in people that when you see them face to face, you're like, holy shit. Like you talked about earlier or yesterday or in our last episode with the car company that you're dealing with. They can be in your face. It can seem silly. But Forrest Gump is extremely competent in that movie. Extremely competent. He's an idiot savant. That's the definition of America. We as Canadians and other Europeans are going like, what the fuck are you doing? But they get shit done.
Yeah, I can't argue with that per se.
It seems retarded, but it's not. Sorry, I got to stop using that word. I'm of a different time, people.
No, you're not. You just refuse to change.
I'm a 36-year-old boomer.
Yes.
Well said, Sean. Okay. Yeah, I love Forrest Gump. Great movie. A lot of my movies are going to be the ones that I can watch a million times over. That's why they made my list.
Yeah. And that's a movie that justifies being that long.
Yes. There's a point to every scene.
Yes.
Should have told JFK not to be there in Dallas. But he didn't know, I guess.
No.
Number 9. Good Will Hunting. I watched it later in life because this is actually one of the few Matt Damon or Kevin Smith adjacent, shall we say, movies that you and I didn't watch together. I watched it later in life, but holy fuck. What a performance from Matt Damon, Ben Affleck, even Cole Hauser, even what's her name, Mimi Driver, Robin Williams. Yeah. Robin Williams' is his best role, I think.
Yeah, I would say it's easily Robin Williams' best role. It's potentially up there for Matt Damon, which I don't want to say it's his best role because that would mean everything he's done since then has been downhill. But
no, he's always had great roles. That's well said. Matt Damon, I don't think got worse. He got better potentially.
Yeah,
but still, they fucking nailed it.
Yeah, they did.
There's so many iconic speeches. The one to me that sticks out is Ben Affleck looking at Matt Damon saying, you're not fucking going to be better for you. You're going to be better for me towards the end. Don't do it for you. Do it for me. Because I'm still going to be here in fucking 20 years. Like, holy shit, man.
Is that the same monologue where he goes on about every day he walks up to that house hoping he doesn't answer the door?
Exactly.
Yeah. No, that one gets me every time.
Yeah. That's like so good. Sometimes you have to realize your potential, not for you. And I know it's at times, like this is a deep discussion I'm having right here. At times it seems like when the world's going backwards, you think, what the fuck am I doing this for? You're not doing this for anybody but the people around you.
Yeah.
Always realize your potential. And yeah, I may have realized that too late in life, but been a little bit of a degenerate myself, if I may speak from the heart. But I feel like I'm getting better. and that speech speaks to me. Yeah, that's my number 9.
Well, there you go. I'll just put it out there that it did make my larger list. It didn't make the top 10. But I'm glad it ended up on one of our lists.
Yeah, I couldn't, in good conscience, keep it out. We forgot to do our honorable mentions. We'll do our honorable mentions at the end.
Sure.
What's your number 9?
Let's see, where did it go? No Country for Old Men.
Yeah, I left it off of mine. Spoiler alert. Because I knew it would be on yours.
Yeah, and I can't necessarily pinpoint one specific thing about that movie that makes it as good as it is. But I think the cast that's in it and the performance that they put on, I can't picture anybody else in those roles.
No.
It's so well executed. And even the story, like it's not hard to follow the story, but it also keeps you trying to play through it and figure out what's going on. It's really well directed, really well written, and the acting in it and the cinematography, everything about it, just very well done.
Coen brothers do not disappoint.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love how the last line is why they made the title of the movie. You know what I mean? Where Tommy Lee Jones is talking about that dream he's having. And he says, I just can't seem to get... I forget exactly what he says. I just can't seem to get it, and I'm always behind. And then I woke up. It's No Country for Old Men. He's too old.
Okay. Yeah.
But
I
yeah,
see it.
but I always remember you. I'm not making fun of you. I just thought it was amazing how when the second you saw that movie, you would talk to me as Javier Bardem every chance you had. Flip a coin, Nick. Goal it.
I don't remember that, but all right.
We used to drink a 2-4 every Friday. That's probably why you don't remember.
That's why I don't remember that.
Yeah, those were the days.
Yeah.
Thank God we don't do that anymore.
Oh, God, I would die. Probably literally.
Probably literally. Yeah, great movie. It's probably should be in my top 10, but I think, yeah, I was thinking of you, so I kept it off mine. Which I know is no excuse. I'm just saying I had so many that I wanted that I said, okay, if he's probably going to put it on, I'll keep it off.
There you go.
What's your number 8?
All right. Number 8 is Pulp Fiction.
Number 8?
Yeah.
Wow, I thought that'd be higher up your list. Explain yourself, young man.
I don't know that there's a way I can explain this that will be accepted by anybody. And I don't want to cop out and say I put the numbering together hastily, so it's really just a grouping of 10 movies that I like, because it's not. I did put it down the list because I even struggled to want to put anything Tarantino on my larger list.
Oh, wow. You monster. Why?
His movies are great, and I've watched every single one multiple times and will continue to watch them and continue to enjoy them. Especially his more recent ones, I would say starting at Kill Bill. They've gone too far. And it's intentional. He's done it all intentionally. But it does take away from... It does take away from the movie as a whole, in my opinion. This is similar to your thing about comedy movies. It's a list in itself. If we want to start looking at Tarantino movies, we can almost make this list of Tarantino movies.
Yeah.
Right? So to put Pulp Fiction in the same category as Good Will Hunting or Blade Runner or No Country for Old Men, to me, didn't feel right. Right? So Pulp Fiction is there because I think it is his best movie that he's made.
I can agree to that.
He's still trying to make his way into what he was doing. Now he has free reign. He can do whatever the hell he wants. But this was his earnest effort at making a masterpiece. And I think he did it. So I'll leave it there.
I have actually nothing else to add to that. Interesting.
It's a phenomenal movie. And another one of these movies that is very long, but also there's nothing to remove.
Nothing.
The entire thing, the style that it's done, the style he created effectively with this movie that other people have tried to copy and never been able to do it.
Not even close.
It's similar to Top Gear, right? There's something about the trio that was Top Gear, right? Hammond, May, and Clarkson doing what they did. There was a magic around that trio. There's a magic around Tarantino and what he does that if anybody else tries to do it, they might get all the pieces in the right place.
Robert Rodriguez.
Well, they make movies together.
I know, I'm just saying.
They get all the pieces in the right place, but it's not the same.
No.
It never comes out the same.
No. I thought you were going to put, I'll just say this and then we'll move on. I thought you were going to put Reservoir Dogs.
It was on the list, and it is a great one. And it is extremely iconic. But if I'm going to choose one Tarantino movie, it's got to be Pulp Fiction.
There's so much I want to say, but I have to save it for unrelated reasons. So
Wink,
we will
wink.
move on. We will move on. But well said.
Thank you.
My number 8 is Braveheart.
Interesting.
I've seen this recently, actually. I saw it for the first time in 2017 with Scots. I watched it with Scots and Irish in a hostel in Australia.
I was going to ask, was it in Australia?
Yeah. I hadn't seen it, and I watched it full through for the first time. 2 Scots, 2 Irish, and me. And I couldn't stop watching. It's perfect in so many ways. It's amazing. It's a Jesus allegory, which is always good, I think. But it does make sense as to why Mel Gibson did go insane. Because he thinks he's Jesus in this movie. But still, amazing movie. It's not just action. Like the action, I think, is subdued. And then the dialogue and the lessons it's trying to teach. Like when Robert the Bruce is like, why can't I be what he is? He tried to steal it from him. He tried to betray Braveheart or William Wallace to become him. And he's like, I can't. That's not how you do it. And you can learn so much about yourself, I think, by watching that movie. Because it's really it's just allegories, not just Jesus. It's allegories for everything. I think that movie.
Interesting.
In my opinion.
I don't know that I can say anything about that. I've seen the movie. Obviously, it's a great movie. But yeah, frankly, it didn't even cross my mind to put on any of these lists.
Just watch it with Scottish people and you'll understand. You'll do the same thing.
I've never heard understand and Scottish people used in a sentence together unless it's I don't understand.
Perfect. That's the perfect comment. And on that note, we'll move on.
Number 7.
Number 7 is very close to my heart. This is more of a family classic, but it's I thought it over and I was like, it has to be on this list. I almost didn't put it on. To my brother and my dad who are listening, I almost didn't put it on, and then I rethought about it, and I'm like, holy shit, this has to be on this list. Because not just for nostalgia or for, like, romantic reasons, like loving your family and stuff like that. No, it's legitimately an amazing movie. Gladiator. My father has asked me personally to make sure that at his funeral we play the song that's at the end when he's picturing his kids and his wife. Yeah, he wants that movie played at his funeral, and it's an iconic film. And Joaquin Phoenix, man, what a fucking good actor he is. And Russell Crowe too. Like, Russell Crowe doesn't have many bad films, except for, I don't know if you saw that recent one he did, the Exorcism one.
Oh yeah, that was great.
It was great.
So bad.
It's great in a bad way. Exactly. I loved it, but it was awful.
Yeah, which Since we're doing an episode on movies, I'm just going to put it out there. There's a great podcast on bad movies with Paul Scheer and Jason Mantzoukas and June Diane Rayfield called How Did This Get Made?
June Diane Rayfield, she's the one. So they're all from the League, right?
Yes.
She's the teacher who's such a bitch, right? She's like, I love her. She's an amazing actress. Yeah. Those three are really funny guys. What's it called again?
How Did This Get Made?
How Did This Get Made? I gotta watch that podcast.
So every week they watch a bad movie and then they spend the episode basically tearing apart the movie. And most of the movies I've watched in the last little while have been movies that have been featured on that podcast, and it really is. It's an experience to go back and watch some of these movies, having seen or having heard the episode, and pinpointing all the little things that they've pointed out. Or at the same time, some of these movies are not necessarily movies that are going to be on this list, but movies we like. And we go back and we're like, no, this isn't, the episode doesn't make sense because it's clear that this is the case, right? So, yeah, anyway, go listen to that podcast. It's a good one.
I will definitely add that. Yeah. I can just describe Gladiator in one word. It's beautiful. It's a beautiful film. It's a redemption story. Yeah, nothing more to say. Fall of Rome shit.
Yeah, and again, another one that for its time was extremely well done. Massive budgets, great cast, everything done painstakingly well.
Iconic.
Yeah, exactly.
Your number 7.
My number 7 is The Dark Knight Rises.
You fucking monster. That should be higher and you know it.
Well, I think part of this ties into the fact that it is at its core a superhero movie. And in general, the consensus is superhero movies don't make lists like this. But it's a Christopher Nolan movie.
Yes, that's well said.
And I've got a few Nolan movies on here. And the other ones aren't necessarily worthy of this list. Not that they're bad movies, they're good movies. But I don't know that they deserve in the top 10. And as his last film that he did in the Batman series, it definitely was his best.
Oh, for sure.
And we will probably never get another Batman movie in our lifetimes that is as good as these were.
No. Well fucking said, Sean.
And to cast Tom Hardy in that role of Bane and have him not speak a word and do his entire thing ADR and make it work with his facial expressions was a stroke of genius. Because frankly, I don't know that Tom Hardy could have pulled those lines up in the same way.
No. You can see it in his eyes at times. Yeah. Like it looks like he's laughing under the mask. You know what I mean? Like when they're, but like you're right. But his facial expressions always seem to nail it.
Yeah, and I think it's that kind of gives him that sociopathic feel.
Yes.
That if it was his voice with those expressions, it wouldn't have worked as well.
You'll probably catch some flack for saying it's the best Batman film, but Sean is absolutely fucking right. It's better than The Dark Knight. The Dark Knight is incredible.
Yes.
But The Dark Knight Rises is better.
It is. Yes. The
Joker was amazing. Heath Ledger's Joker, that will always be the best Joker, in my opinion.
Absolutely.
But The Dark Knight Rises as a standalone movie, which Sean talked about, you said at the beginning of your list, as a standalone movie, it's fucking genius.
Right.
It talks about how you subvert a city from the inside and how they destroy it from within to take over, and the only way to take it back is from within. Batman had to come back from within.
Yeah.
And how if you get broken, as long as you're alive, you can always come back. It's just so fucking good, that movie, man.
And even the false hope, right?
Yes.
There was never any way that they were going to be able to save themselves, but he gave them the false hope that there was. Right? Yeah. great movie. Like you said, you can take that as a standalone movie, and it works. You don't have to watch Batman Begins, The Dark Knight, The Dark Knight Rises. You can watch any one of them at any given point, and it all makes sense.
Yeah. We're going to catch flack for liking that more than Dark Knight. I know Dark Knight is just like that's a passionate pick for a lot of people.
Sure.
Because Heath Ledger's second last film, but
yeah. Now, if you ask me who the better villain is, Bane or Joker, I'm going to say the Joker. But Bane in that movie makes that, kind of puts it over the edge. Okay. The movie without Joker, like if you were to change the villain and kept the movie the same, it wouldn't have been what it was.
Well said. Well said. I would argue that actually Bane is the better villain. I would make that claim. Even though you're right. Without Bane, you could probably still have a good Dark Knight Rises.
Yes.
But without Joker, you can't. But I think just the way he did Bane was so perfect. He was such a foil to Batman in a way that Joker wasn't. Like, Joker was a perfect, like, mirror image, I guess you could say.
Mm-hmm.
But Bane was just like, I don't know. Maybe I'm just saying this because that movie spoke to me more. But
yeah, the only thing I'll say about the movie is I wish they had kept it more to the comics, where Bane breaks Batman, but Batman doesn't come back.
Yeah, different Batman comes. Yeah.
Right? Anyway.
No, I have that trilogy, the Nightfall. It's really good.
Yeah.
It's really, really good. Yeah. Okay. Your number 6.
Number 6. We have Snatch.
Yeah.
And I might be wrong. It might be the age we were at when Snatch came out. But to me, this is the introduction to Guy Ritchie.
Mm-hmm.
Like, obviously, he's got movies before this, Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels,
Mm-hmm.
which is a great movie. In my opinion, Snatch is better. But again, the cast, the way it is, it's that recipe of Guy Ritchie. It's the same thing with Tarantino, where he's got so many good movies, and he's got his own recipe that he puts together that distinctly makes it a Guy Ritchie movie. And I think that is the culmination of what he does.
You once said to me, Snatch has perfected Lock, Stock. You're absolutely right.
Yeah.
Anything else you want to add about that? Because I got that's you. Everything I learned from Snatch, I learned from you. So it's
No, nothing much to say on that one. Guy Ritchie does have a new movie out. What is it? The Ministry of Ungentlemanly Warfare.
Oh, I haven't seen that.
I think it's on Prime. I watched it expecting a Guy Ritchie movie, and I was let down.
Well, the other one that he did with Jason Statham recently, that French title,
Oh, yeah, I didn't watch that one yet.
it wasn't very good either. And he did another one with Jason Statham on Netflix, which wasn't very good either. The Gentleman, I think, was his, and I'll talk about this later. The Gentleman was amazing, and he hasn't done well since.
Yeah. Anyway, we'll get to that one.
Yeah. I love The Gentleman, but it didn't make my list, and you'll find out why. Spoiler alert. Number 6, I put Fight Club. Had to be on my list. I remember watching this movie for the first time with you in your parents' basement. And you're trying to tell me, like, there's a
Twist.
Pardon me, a twist, yes. Trying to tell me there's a twist. I'm trying to figure it out, and I just kept getting it wrong, and you're like, holy shit, Nick, it's right in fucking front of you.
But this is the thing with Fight Club. Like, it's such a well done movie that even if you know the twist, you sit there watching it for the second, third, fourth time, whatever, trying to piece it together. And it's all in front of you. And even if you know what it is, it still makes you work to figure it out.
Exactly. Like, if you get lost in the movie, like you said, the second, third, fourth, fifth time, if you get lost watching the movie just because it's so good, it's so captivating, you'll still miss it.
Mm-hmm.
It's fucking iconic, that film.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I don't have much else to say about that. I think everybody who knows Fight Club loves Fight Club, and you and I love that movie. But there was a great discussion between, I think it was a religious scholar, Duke Pesta, and Stefan Molyneux, who a lot of people may not like hearing that name. But it was a great discussion, a great podcast where they talk about the difference between Fight Club and Reservoir Dogs. No, Boondock Saints. And how Fight Club is the atheist left wing movie, and Boondock Saints is the religious right wing movie. And they talk about their differences between it. It's a really cool discussion.
Interesting.
Yeah. I still love Fight Club more. Boondock Saints is an amazing film. Once again, another film I watched with you for the first time. But Fight Club, man, like, just put aside all the bullshit from that discussion. I think it's just an interesting discussion, but so much fun. I can watch Fight Club a million times and still love it.
Oh, absolutely. And you mentioned something there about people who know it or people who have seen it. I work with people who have never seen the movie.
Holy shit, get on that.
They were born years, like, when did this come out? This was 98?
99.
99. They would have been born 5-6 years after it came out.
Gen Zers. Okay, yeah, get on that.
So we were talking about something, and I mentioned a scene from Fight Club that was relevant to the conversation we were having, and they looked at me like I had two heads. I was like, holy shit. Oh, actually, it was the scene where he describes the what justifies a recall. Because relevant to what we were doing at the time. And they looked at me like I had two heads, and I was like, holy fuck, you gotta go watch this movie. And so I didn't even want to describe it to them because
Doesn't do it justice.
you can't do it justice.
See, that's the teeth mark right there. They must have bit down on that, yeah. Or what was it? They had dentures or something.
His retainer.
His retainer. That's
Melted
what.
into the console.
That's dark, but yeah, that's still funny to us.
Yeah.
Number 5, I put Snatch. We already talked about it.
There you go.
It's definitely. I had a hard time with this one because I wanted to put Rock and Rolla.
Okay.
And Rock and Rolla might be better, and it might have a better cast, but I think you nailed it just now. That specific cast is perfect together in Snatch.
Which, this just brings up something for me. I don't know that it's a Guy Ritchie movie, but it's got that same sort of feel. Layer Cake.
Hold that thought.
Okay.
Hold that thought. Yeah. My ultimate thesis was that Snatch is the darker of the two. Between Rock and Roll is, I guess, more uppity, more poppy, I guess you can say, in the way he made it.
Sure.
It's more happy. It's a more happy film. Snatch is the darker of the two. And I think that's why I chose it. It's because I like that more dramatic noir. Where
See Nick's music preferences for
Nick's-
his...
Exactly. I almost put The Gentleman as 5, as his best movie. I love The Gentleman, and I can watch it every time and enjoy it. Amazing cast: Matthew McConaughey, Colin Farrell, Charlie Hunnam,
Hugh Laurie.
No, not Hugh Laurie.
Not Hugh.
Who are we thinking of here?
The reporter. Or the investigator.
Hugh Grant.
Hugh Grant.
That's Hugh Laurie. We love
Yeah.
House. We love House, so that's why we'll
Hugh
do
Grant.
next year. We'll do favorite sitcoms or TV shows. House will definitely be in both of our top 10s.
Probably.
Probably. Maybe Entourage would be our number 1 each.
No.
You love Entourage. Shut up. Anyways, yeah, I chose Snatch because I don't think The Gentleman's had enough time. I need to watch it a few more times. It's probably my number 1, but Snatch, I think, is just for nostalgia.
I'll give it to you because I watched The Gentleman again this past week. And yeah, it is everything you want it to be.
Guy Ritchie gets better as he gets older, I find. Because I almost, like I said, I almost put Rock and Rolla. And like I think Rock and Rolla might be better. I think Gentleman might be better than Rock and Rolla. But I love Snatch.
Yeah.
It's tough.
Guy Ritchie did seem to pull a bit of a Nick Cage recently, though.
Yes. Well said. You heard it here first.
Let's do a whole bunch of movies back to back to back, and holy shit, all of them sucked.
All of them suck, yeah. The Weight of Genius, the one that Nick Cage did recently, that's really good, though.
I can't bring myself to watch it.
It's actually not bad because he's making fun of himself the entire time.
Yeah, I got that. And I think that's why I can't bring myself to watch it. It just seems like another Nicolas Cage ego trip.
Yeah, fair enough.
Have you heard about his grave?
No.
In one of the bigger cemeteries in New Orleans, he has a grave plot picked out, and he's had a pyramid constructed. And in cemeteries in New Orleans, like Joe Blow, people who don't have a lot of money, whatever, get put in the wall without really a spot because space is limited in these cemeteries. So if you want a plot on the ground with a proper tombstone, it's extremely expensive. And you have to pay to have it maintained. So Nick Cage has basically bought, I forget how many plots it is, to build this giant white pyramid that basically his body's going to get put under. But he's paid to have all the graves around his permanently maintained. It's the only grave in that cemetery that has lighting, so it gets illuminated at night.
Unbelievable.
And then every once in a while, red lipstick marks will appear on the grave. Now, what they try to tell you is that these are Nick Cage fans who come and kiss this tomb for whatever reason. Mind you, he's not there. He's still alive.
Yes.
In actuality, the going belief is that it's Nicolas Cage himself.
I was just about to say, holy fuck, that makes so much sense. Holy fuck. Yeah.
So,
I don't think that's a rumor. I think that's fact. We'll say it here first.
and that's kind of the Nicolas Cage nonsense that, of course, he did a movie making fun of himself.
He's that up his own ass. That well said. Did you ever see that episode of Community where like Abed tries to watch all his movies and he goes insane?
Yes, I did.
Oh,
Yeah.
that makes complete sense too.
Yeah.
Anyways, what's your number 5?
My number 5 is Saving Private Ryan.
Wow. Okay. Interesting.
From a historical standpoint, it's probably the best reenactment, best capturing of what happened on D-Day. Again, for its time, an absolute epic. The budget that went into it, the research, everything that came together to make that movie really did that point in history justice. Right? The cast is phenomenal. The acting was great. I think it has to be on this list.
It's fair. I'm going to say something you're going to hate. I don't think I've ever seen it full through.
Wow.
Yeah. Have at it.
I mean, that's fine. You do you. It is on the long side, and it's maybe not as capturing through the whole movie, but I don't think there's anything that can be pulled out of it. I think the whole movie as it is together needs to be that way. Is it a little slow at points? Yes, but there's nothing that is unnecessary.
It's iconic, I think is what you're saying.
I don't even know if I'd use iconic. It's in a society where we don't pay enough attention to history because we're all too caught up in stupid shit. It's a good way to capture people's attention and teach them something at the same time.
It's fair. I want to make fun of you, but I can't. I didn't see it all the way through. Seeing the good scenes. Got to get on that. What's your number 4?
My number 4. You're not going to like this one.
Fuck you.
It's Casino.
I knew it. Fucking knew you were going to fucking put that movie on there.
This, I went through this list and I was trying not to be heavy with one particular director. So we've got, I've just drawn a blank.
Guy Ritchie, Coen Brothers.
Ritchie. We've got
Tarantino.
Guy Ritchie. We've got Tarantino. We've got Martin Scorsese now.
Mm-hmm.
I could fill a top 10 with those 3 directors.
Yeah, easily.
Right? So I've done my best to not do that. So I forced myself to pick one Scorsese movie.
I did the same, but yeah, good job.
Right? And for me, it came down to Casino and The Departed.
I thought you were going to pick The Departed.
And The Departed is fantastic. And the fact that Jack Nicholson improv the entire movie should put it on this list.
Mm-hmm.
But to me, Casino is the more iconic movie.
That was his glorifying Italians phase.
Sure.
And I don't know,
But the main character is not Italian.
De Niro, Pesci, that's what I meant. It's
Those are his guys.
Those are his guys, but like, there's something missing in Casino to me. I don't know. I think it's one of those movies you love or hate.
Yeah.
And I don't operate that way. I don't love in a love or hate way.
You just like to hate everything.
I hate, well said, but also, if I know it's good, I know it's good. I didn't see any good in Casino.
Wow.
Yeah. It's just something about the way he does movies. Like, fuck, I get it. You love Fleetwood Mac. You did cocaine on a mirror table in the 70s. Just, does every movie have to have the same feel? I think that's why I would say The Departed is his best. But it's not my top 10.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah. I get it. Yeah, sorry. I just went off. Casino's okay. Yeah.
I mean, if I'm being honest, it might be a little too high in this list. But I'm sticking to it.
That's fair. All right. My number 4. Layer Cake. Which we talked about. What a fucking amazing film. And you once said to me, you're the inspiration as to why I put it higher than Snatch. You once said to me, Matthew Vaughn is the director. Matthew Vaughn did a better Guy Ritchie film than Guy Ritchie. You once said that to me. That's why
does sound like something I would have said.
You said that to me, and I stopped you. You were about to say something along those lines. Where the best British gangster film is actually not Guy Ritchie. It's done by Matthew Vaughn, but this is his only British gangster film. And it's perfect in a lot of ways. And it gave Daniel Craig the James Bond role because you could see him as someone who would be a stone cold killer.
Yeah, but that wasn't the character.
I understand. Yeah, he was something else. He was a very smart drug dealer.
Who didn't want to be the killer.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But I just think it's just such a free-flowing, perfect film I can watch every time. The scene where the guy beats up the other guy in the cafe, and then you hear Duran Duran's Ordinary World, which just fucking comes in perfectly.
Which is a very Guy Ritchie thing to put in a movie.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But also just that last speech by Michael Gambon, one of the best actors ever, who has a famous corner in Top Gear on the circuit. Yeah, the last corner when he went, 2 wheels?
Yeah.
Yeah. Welcome to the layer cake of life, son. When he talks about, you're born, you take shit, you get older, you take shit, and then you climb the ladder of shit, and you forget what shit tastes like. Welcome to the layer cake of life. Like, fucking genius.
Yeah.
It's an amazing film. I wanted to put Guy Ritchie films higher, but I think this is a little bit better.
And I think you're touching on it there, where this is the thing about English movies, English gangster movies in particular, that make it work or make it change the way we view them. Because most of the time when we see these actors like Michael Gambon, we see them in very posh English roles, right? They're more sophisticated, let's say.
Mm-hmm.
And then you put him in a role like that where he's a gangster. You're like, wow, I never expected him to be in that role.
But he's a gangster who's very gentlemanly. He's very polished. He's
Right,
a polished gangster because he talks about like the remora fish, and his actions are all well calculated, and you don't see his calculated actions until after.
Mm-hmm.
It's very brilliant the way they casted him and the way he acted.
Right. Yeah. But that's just it. The British do that because they see the whole thing. American cinema sees a Brit and goes, oh, well, he's got to be a hoity-toity,
Pompous asshole, yeah.
So what I'm saying is I'm glad that they do that, and we get to see these movies and see that, oh, look, there's more to them than just this, fancy pants British guy.
Yeah. I think the era of portraying British people as like silly, uppity people is done, though. I think people now respect that.
Because of the work of
Yes.
these types of movies.
Guy Ritchie, Matthew Vaughn, yeah.
Yeah.
Shout out to Matthew Vaughn, though, for making The Kingsman. He made them.
There you go.
Yeah, the first two. The third one is an abomination, and you should go to hell for that. You heard it here first.
There you go.
My number 3, I think you might have some flack with this. Sin City. What a cast. Bruce Willis, Josh Hartnett briefly, Clive Owen, Rosario Dawson, Jessica Alba. Who else am I missing here? Mickey Rourke. Mickey Rourke.
Colin Farrell? No?
No. What's her name? Gina something? Not Gina Carano.
Oh, I know who you're talking about.
Exactly, yeah. In the first one. 3 amazing stories. Beautiful stories, love stories. All 3 of them. Whatever. In a world, I wrote down, in a world of sin, good deeds are not rewarded. In all 3. Mickey Rourke's character tries to do a good thing.
Yep.
Gets killed for it. Bruce Willis.
Jared Leto's in that, isn't he?
No, Elijah Wood is who you're thinking of.
The bad guy.
The killer, the one with the glass who doesn't speak, who claws people. Not Jared Leto.
No.
The yellow guy?
The yellow guy.
It's not Jared Leto.
It's not?
I don't think so.
Anyway, we'll have to look at that.
We're going to have to look that up. I can't open my phone because the last time I did, but Clive Owen is the worst of the characters. And he survives.
Yep.
Yeah, and he survives.
Benicio del Toro.
Yeah, he's the guy, is the cop, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Jamie King.
Who's Jamie King again?
Goldie.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Brittany Murphy.
Powers Booth, who comes in the second Sin City. The second Sin City is an abomination. Good Lord.
Yeah.
Don't ever do remakes. It's not a trilogy. That's why I put it on this list. But in Sin City as a standalone is just so perfect. It's just one of my favorite movies that I guess, broke a rule in that sense.
Yeah. Michael Madsen's in it.
Yes.
He's a Tarantino actor.
Mm-hmm. And he's the corrupt cop who shoots Bruce Willis at the beginning.
Yeah. Nick Offerman.
Oh, what is Nick Offerman?
Schlub.
No, there's Michael Clark Duncan.
Yeah.
Another comedy that we forgot: The Slam and Salmon and Super Troopers.
Yep.
Broken Lizards. You and I love them.
Yeah.
Michael Clark Duncan's in The Slam and Salmon. That's why I bring that up.
Tommy Flanagan.
Tommy Flanagan again. I can't remember what he's from.
Irish guy. A lot of people know him from Sons of Anarchy.
Oh, okay.
Plays Chips.
It's just a great. It's not just the cast. The cast makes it better, but the story's so good. And it's 3 amazing stories, and it's an amazing comic book. And I just could not keep this off my list. Amazing graphic novel by Frank Miller.
Yes.
And Frank Miller also did 300. Also another great comic or graphic novel. Sorry, excuse my language.
And this is, I wouldn't have put it in the top 10. It's a great movie. And I'd say it fits what I was saying before about looking at it in the time it was released with what was available. It was a drastic departure, right? Because you have these live action versions of whatever, right? A book adaptation, something like that.
Yeah, Lord of the Rings, 300. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And it's all very typical. Actors, put them in costumes, put them on a set, have them go through an interpretation of a book. You could have done that with Sin City the same way.
Mm-hmm.
Put them in New York or Chicago, wherever, and have them do that. But no, they did it in such a way where it felt like you were watching a comic book unfold, right? It's
Well said.
black and white, hints of color, kind of over the top, right?
Yeah.
That was a shift in filmmaking that I think has been, people have tried to duplicate it and failed. And it's not necessarily Frank Miller's doing, that movie. There's a team that came up with that. But they did it in 300, and they did it again with Sin City, and it worked.
Mm-hmm.
And hasn't really been carried on. But also, I think if people tried to do it more often, it wouldn't work as well.
No. Yeah. Can't add anything to that. That was well said. Good monologue.
So.
I would just say, yeah, actually, I got nothing else to say. The ultimate, the one thing I wrote is the ultimate act of evil is the only way to do good in a world upside down, which is Bruce Willis killing himself.
Very deep, Nicholas.
Yeah. Sometimes I got good ones. What's your number 3 movie?
We've already talked about this one. It's Forrest Gump.
I had a feeling there'd be a lot of crossovers. Yeah. Sorry.
I mean, it's a good indication that we're on the same page,
Yes and no.
but we're playing around with positioning.
Yeah.
I think it's higher on the list.
I do and I don't. My last 2, I think are perfect movies. But yeah, anything else you want to add about Forrest Gump, or do you want to say your number 2?
No, I think let's just get into number 2.
Okay, sorry.
You're probably not going to like this one very much.
Go fuck yourself.
It's The Godfather.
Sure.
And I fought with this one as well because which one's the better one? 1 or 2? But what it came down to for me was without 1, you don't have 2.
Fair.
And 1 almost seemed like the brainchild. And 2, it almost felt like they could have been one movie, but they couldn't justify 6 hours of movie time.
That's fair.
Right? So I have to give it to number 1. It is the one with, where Marlon Brando plays a much more significant role. It's got, what the hell's his name? James Caan.
Mm-hmm.
James Caan? No, James. Sorry.
Al Pacino, like you've seen him before, as we always talk about.
Well, that's not how we've seen Al Pacino before. That's a very different role for Al Pacino. James Caan is in there, yes, and Duvall.
James Duvall.
So, great. This movie had such an impact on American culture.
Yes.
That the mafia actually adapted to the movie. It sounds ridiculous, but the FBI have actually come out and said they saw in their surveillance of the American mafia, they saw a switch in the way they behaved after The Godfather came out to be more like the movie.
Oh, I wish I could say my opinion on that. We'll talk off air.
I think I know what that opinion is.
Uh-huh.
But I think Brando in that movie is phenomenal. Pacino, not in the way you've seen him before.
I know, that was a joke. You and I came up with that quip, and I think it's genius. But yeah,
it is for any other movie.
Yes, yeah. You're right. Actually, Al Pacino is this is probably his best role. Or The Devil's Advocate, one of the two.
The Devil's Advocate, or I would say Heat as well.
Yeah, I like Heat too.
He does a good job in Heat.
Look, it's not. You know Peter Griffin, what he says about The Godfather, one of the early seasons?
He doesn't care for it.
He does not care for it. That's exactly how I felt. That was like the perfect personification of what I think.
Which maybe is why I had to put it on this list, because I knew you wouldn't like it.
Yeah. there's just something about it. It just doesn't do it for me. And I think that whole mafia culture, it's never appealed to me. Maybe it's my upbringing. I don't know. I'm not really affiliated with the mob, in case people are taking that duplicitly. I'm very much not. So that's why I just don't see the appeal in it.
Sure.
Right. Okay, so I'm now doing 2 and 1.
Yeah.
I don't know how you'll feel about my number 2, but I love it. It's based on the list we've talked out now. It probably should be number 1, but I'll keep it number 2 because this is what I wrote. Lucky Number 11, which I don't know if I'm gonna get flack for this, because if you listen to critics in the time it came out 2005 or 2006. I think 2006. It was hated.
Yep.
People despise this movie. And once again, Bruce Willis is in my... So Bruce Willis is now in 3 and 2. My 2 and 3 favorite movies. Bruce Willis, Josh Hartnett again, Morgan Freeman, Ben Kingsley, Lucy Liu.
Sir Ben Kingsley.
Sir Ben Kingsley. Who else am I missing here? Corey Stoll, he's from House of Cards. Early Corey Stoll. I'm missing a big piece here. Lucy Liu, Josh Hartnett, Bruce Willis, Morgan Freeman, Sir Ben Kingsley. There's someone big I'm missing. But anyways, the cast is incredible. The acting is incredible. The dialogue is unbelievable.
Yeah, and I think the dialogue is part of the reason it was pretty hated. It's got that cadence and that flow to it that people don't like to follow. Like, it moves too quickly and it's too erratic. And it's not what people are used to. But it needed to be that way.
Yes. Well said.
And they were trying to do something different with that movie. And to me, it worked.
Yes.
To you, it worked, obviously.
Oh, big time.
And it is another one of these ones that keeps you on your toes. It keeps you thinking through the whole thing. It's not the same as Fight Club in that you have to watch it a couple of times to make sure you're picking up all the clues. Once you get to the end, you realize how it went down.
Yeah.
But it's a clever movie.
Very clever is an excellent word. And they basically tell you everything that's about to happen in the first scene.
Yes.
But you need to be paying attention, or you have to kind of understand what's, I guess you're saying, yeah, like you have to follow along, but you're not expecting it to follow along with that, along that line.
Yes.
The Kansas City Shuffle, for a spoiler for everybody who hasn't seen it. Like, you look one way, they go the other. I left M. Night Shyamalan off my list, any of his films, as much as I love almost all of them, including Devil. I don't know if you've ever seen Devil.
Maybe.
When they're all in the elevator.
Yeah. I don't know if I've ever actually watched it.
It was shortly after Lady in the Water, so nobody gave it a chance. But this is probably the best twist movie I've ever seen. I know a lot of people would say The Sixth Sense because nobody ever saw it coming. It was like the first big twist.
Mm-hmm.
But this, like, there's a movie that you think is happening in Lucky Number 11, and then you realize there's a whole other movie that's happening.
Yes. They basically changed the main character midway through the movie.
Yes. Well said. And nobody's ever done that.
I wouldn't say nobody's done it, but it's probably the better executed version of it.
Yeah. I won't spoil too much more for anybody who hasn't seen it, but yeah, like, to me, it's just fucking genius, and I can watch it a million times, and I never get tired of it. It doesn't, like I think you said it earlier, like, it doesn't matter, like, that I've seen it already. I still am getting lost in the movie.
Yeah.
So yeah.
No, good choice.
Yeah, I still don't understand why it's hated, but by critics. But critics suck. They never know what the fuck they're talking about. The critics loved There Will Be Blood.
Which, good movie. Again, why the fuck is it so long?
Yeah, well said. But Robot Chicken, I think, summarized it best. I know we shouldn't be getting our advice from Robot Chicken for anything, But when they do clips of like good movies, or quote unquote, when it's just like a bastard in a basket, and then the movie ends.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, it was
And
not
an oil well blowing up.
Yeah, exactly. A million times they show the oil well blowing up a million times. Yeah, like a lot of those movies don't do it for me, but this did. I don't know. It's just. This is my type of movie, I guess is how I should say it.
Good
Probably should have been number one, and I refrained because my number one is Pulp Fiction.
Ooh.
And it had to be Pulp Fiction. It had to be.
Did it?
It did. The dialogue's unbelievable. The actors, check. Iconic, check. The last scene in the cafe, how is it your number 7 or 8? The last season in the cafe alone with Tim Roth, Samuel Jackson, his girlfriend, I don't know her name in real life, and John Travolta. I have the poster of the movie. It's the one thing I made sure was mine. I have the poster, John Travolta holding the gun saying, "You play with matches, you get burned."
I mean, I can't argue that it's a phenomenal movie. I don't know that I would have put it first.
It's just, I guess it's the first dramatic movie where I think there's nothing that needs to be changed. Nothing. Slevin, too. Probably Slevin should have been number one.
But Slevin's got more of a comedic bent to it.
Yes. But it's trying to, but we'll say this about Slevin. It's trying to be funny because it's taking you on a ride. He's trying to be clever and funny because he's not trying to give away his character. Yeah.
Yeah.
So there's a reason to the comedy.
Absolutely. Sorry.
All right. So yeah, Pulp Fiction is my number one. What's your number one?
I have Apocalypse Now.
Really? Okay.
That's all. Just an okay.
Out of all the movies to choose, you chose Apocalypse Now? Why?
I did. Why did I choose it?
I think that says it all.
Why did I choose it? So, it's, what's his nuts? Martin Sheen and Marlon Brando. It is a long movie. And it does drag at certain points, but I think it does a great job in capturing kind of the shit show that the Vietnam War was. And at the same time, the struggle of this Marine who can't find a place at home but doesn't want to be on the battlefield. You know, war is hell type of thing, but at the same time he goes home and he doesn't feel right at home either, and he doesn't have a place in the world. So he goes on this mission to, you know, essentially redeem himself in his own eyes. And the mission is to kill someone who's essentially identical to him. He's going to, you know, defeat himself, basically.
I'll say this. How many fucking films are based off of that premise these days?
Absolutely.
Yeah, so if that's the first, that's the most iconic, yeah, that's the right pick.
I don't even know if it's the first or the most iconic. To me, it's the best adaptation of that.
Yes.
And it's a Coppola movie.
Or Kubrick. Coppola or Kubrick?
No, it's Coppola. It's not Kubrick. Let's just double check that.
Francis Ford Coppola, Apocalypse Now? I thought it was Stanley Kubrick for some reason.
No, it's Francis Ford Coppola. Which also has Robert Duvall.
And Lawrence Fishburne. Wow.
Yeah, and Harrison Ford.
Oh, wow.
It's a very young Lawrence Fishburne. I think he was 16 or 17 during the filming of the movie. Yeah, so just the directing of it, and I don't know if you know, but there's a movie called Hearts of Darkness which is Francis Ford Coppola's wife filming a documentary of the making of Apocalypse Now. And the efforts that they went through to make this movie and make it the way that it became what it was basically drove Coppola insane. He basically turned into Marlon Brando's character in the making of the movie.
Wow.
To me, this is a cinematic masterpiece, and it's got so much going on to it, and I can't do it justice. So yeah, I'll leave it at that.
I've never seen it full through.
Of course you haven't.
That and 2001 Space Odyssey. There's so many fucking films I gotta watch.
I don't blame you on 2001. Holy fuck. A movie that drags on and on and on, and nothing happens.
I think it's more like, well, Blade Runner in the sense that it's helping you use your imagination.
What, 2001?
Yeah.
No, 2001 is a movie made to put you to sleep.
Yeah. Okay.
Holy fuck. I love Kubrick, don't get me wrong. Like, my list here of movies that didn't make it, if this will open again. We have Full Metal Jacket, which is Kubrick. Doctor Strangelove and How I Came to Love the Bomb, which is Kubrick. What else is on here? That might be the only Kubrick ones that made it on, but The Shining.
Yeah.
Eyes Wide Shut.
Eyes Wide Shut's incredible once you know the master key.
Right.
Once you know that it's talking about the elite. But nobody understood that movie when it came out.
Who the fuck didn't? It was the easiest thing to put together.
Really? So when your first watch?
I mean, my first watch, I was significantly old, but...
Oh, okay. That makes sense then.
Yeah. So, that's our list. I mean, I would say it's similar to our music disparities in that there seems to be a clear divide in the types of movies we're talking about. We've got a couple movies that line up here, but I think largely I've gone for much more dramatic movies than you have. You're still in the drama category, but they tend to be, let's say, more lighthearted. Lighthearted is not the right way to say it.
I guess more weird noir. I'm more 90s, 2000s. You're more all over the place.
Sure.
I'm almost all 90s, 2000s, actually. I don't think
Yeah.
there's anything outside of the 1990s or 2000s. Yeah. No, there is not. Yeah. Everything. I think the latest film I have here is Layer Cake in 2005. Oh, sorry, Lucky Number 11 in 2006. Yes. I'm going more that era that more like cinematic modern film. You're going for masterpieces.
Yeah, that's one way to put it.
Yeah.
So, you didn't do the honorable mentions.
Rounders. I would have that at number 11. Matt Damon again. Edward Norton.
Okay.
Film about poker. I could watch it a million times and love it. And I wish I could have put an M. Night Shyamalan film. I really wish I could. The Village, probably, but no. Yes and no.
Unbreakable.
Unbreakable, probably, but it's part of a trilogy.
Or Split.
Yeah, I liked Unbreakable better.
It's part of the same trilogy.
I think you're right in the sense that I could have done a list on Guy Ritchie and Tarantino alone. Rounders, I guess, would be my main honorable mention. I know it's kind of stupid in a sense, but still, I think it's a good cast. It's just that 90s gritty type of we're teaching you something about an underground thing type of movie, kind of like how Natural Born Killers was in a sense.
Which, yeah, that may have been a miss because I think that deserves to be somewhere here.
It's good.
Natural Born Killers.
It's a good film.
It is.
Christian Slater, yeah.
It really did kind of turn something in filmmaking. Like that kind of pushed mainstream cinema over the edge.
I got one. I actually got a couple, both with a good friend of this show, Kevin Spacey. Someone who listens to us, subscribes to us, and likes our stuff.
Trying to find a way to get you back in his basement.
Seven, a movie we watched together first.
Yeah.
It's a good one. And The Usual Suspects.
I have The Usual Suspects on my larger list. It is, yeah.
The Usual Suspects, I think, is a little... Outside of Kevin Spacey, all the other actors are kind of meh. Gabriel Byrne is pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
The acting, I think, kind of takes away from there.
Yeah.
But Seven was fucking incredible, I think. A lot of people give Brad Pitt flack for that. I think he did a decent job.
Yeah. I don't recall there being anything weird with his performance. I think the character itself was kind of meant to be that way.
Mm-hmm.
So I can't argue with that.
We could go on forever with honorable mentions.
We can.
We really could.
Like I mentioned having a couple more Nolan films in here. I have Memento
Oh, yeah.
and The Machinist.
The Machinist. I haven't seen The Machinist.
That's the one with Christian Bale where he ended up getting, like, I think by the end of, or when they filmed that movie, he weighed like 140 pounds.
Oh, that one, yeah. I don't think I've seen it.
Yeah, that's a good one. You should watch that one. I won't tell you much about it then.
Nolan films? Yeah, we could probably do a list of Nolan films. The Prestige. How unappreciative is that fucking...
It's a great movie. I don't know that I would put it on this list.
Probably not, but like a lot of people say the other one with Edward Norton, The Illusionist, was better, and Paul Giamatti, who I hate. Despise Paul Giamatti. It's not better than The Prestige. Fuck Paul Giamatti for some reason.
All right.
He's an actor who's trying too hard.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if that's... Okay. I had The Silence of the Lambs.
Uh-huh. That's a good one.
Anthony Hopkins in that entire series is phenomenal.
Red Dragon. I love that one for some reason.
Yeah.
Do you see?
I have on here American History X.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's a movie that really needs to come back into the modern conversation. But it is an extremely well done movie.
Yes. It's a good movie, yeah.
I'm going to say one of Edward Norton's better roles.
He's got a lot of them.
He does.
Birdman. I don't know if you ever saw that one that was done in one take. How they just keep going and going with the film.
Yeah.
Him, Michael Keaton, Emma Stone. It's a newer movie. It's like 2014.
Yeah, I know. I can picture the cover art. I don't know if I've actually watched it.
It's different.
Yeah.
Different type of film. It's good though. Newer movies, like I tried to keep mine like in the realm of ones that I just love, like 90s, 2000s. But outside of the 2000s, 2013, American Hustle.
Oh.
Christian Bale, Jeremy Renner, Amy Adams, and Jennifer Lawrence.
I remember watching that mainly because the cast looked so promising and it fits into this kind of scope of Blow or Casino, or, you know, it had the potential to be so good. And I remember watching it and being kind of nonplussed.
I'll say this. It's a Scorsese film, not done by Scorsese.
Yes.
I like it, though. Maybe
Because
I just
it's
have
not Scorsese.
Yeah, I have a vendetta against Scorsese. I don't know what it is.
Did you watch The Irishman?
Ugh. That needed an hour cut out, at least.
It did. And it needed an hour cut out, and they really should have cast somebody else as the younger versions.
Of Robert De Niro trying to beat somebody up at 65 or 75. I don't even know.
Yeah, he's in his 70s at least, and he's trying to kick the shit out of the guy in the street as a 30-something or 40-something-year-old man, you're like, that's not the way a 40-year-old moves.
No.
That's the way a geriatric moves.
Yeah. Didn't work.
Yeah. They tried something, it didn't work. I thought the movie was good. It's a good Scorsese film, but they could have, instead of trying to use the same actors, they could have found younger versions of them.
Yeah. We could do this forever. So many fucking good movies. Probably missed a million.
Oh, absolutely we did. Jackie Brown.
Yo, yeah. I love Hateful Eight. If we're talking Tarantino.
Hateful Eight to me was... This is going to sound ridiculous because it's after Kill Bill and I believe it's after Django.
Yes.
It took it too far.
Yeah, I can see how you think that. I just love the fact that like the first 2 hours is just all dialogue, them trying to talk it out.
Yeah.
And then the last half hour, I think you're right, takes it too far.
You know, and you're absolutely like, it's great. And the way they go about it is phenomenal. And it's another one of these movies where you get very small set pieces. It takes place in one room.
Mm-hmm.
But there's so much to that movie.
Yeah.
Kind of like Reservoir Dogs.
Yes.
Reservoir Dogs realistically only has one set. But so much happens.
Yeah. Anyway. We could do this for hours. I have my original list here. I can say what I left out. I'm glad I left out the Green Mile.
Mm-hmm.
Probably doesn't really have a space there. But yeah. Otherwise, I think I got everything I needed to get there. And we talked about it all. So yeah. What do you guys think? Like I said, we could probably do this for hours. You can put your list of movies that you like, and ones that we may have missed. I'm sure we missed a million. I'm sure we missed a fucking million of them.
Oh, absolutely.
But yeah, tell us what you think. If you like this episode, let us know. And we will be back for another philosophical discussion, I think, in a week or two. Senna v. Schumacher. It's time.
It is, yep. And again, I don't think it's going to go the way you think it will, but we'll let that play out.
Let's see. I'm excited. I have a feeling I know what you're talking about. But yeah, F1_philosophy at Instagram, F1 Philosophy at YouTube, and F1PhilosophyPod@gmail.com. Email us if you want to join the Fantasy League. Sean, have a good week. Go fuck yourself for the list you made. And we'll talk soon. What do you have to say to that?
Have a good week, Nicholas. And we'll talk at some point. I'm going to be the bigger man here.
Yeah, fuck. Set you up for that.
All right. Good night, everyone.
Good night.